Week 11 ends with a duel in the desert between the Dallas Cowboys and the Las Vegas Raiders. It's been almost exactly 4 years since these teams have last faced off, and this will be the first time they've ever played in Vegas. Can the Raiders defend their new home, or will the Cowboys open up Jerry World West in Sin City? We'll see in the simulation, but first, let's get behind the bar and make our drink the Lonesome Road.
Well, it's only natural that after such an insane Sunday night matchup, we come back down to earth a little bit for this Monday night matchup. The decidedly mid Dallas Cowboys are taking on the decidedly not good Las Vegas Raiders in a matchup I will probably not be staying up to watch the end of. Now, I'll be hitting the hay, but Dallas's representative is Hit the Road Jack. Now, much like the Hoosier Heritage from Indiana's episode, this is another official cocktail, one crowned by contest, not by Congress. In this case, the Shaken and Stirred bartending contest in 2018, of which Keisha Cooper's submission was the winner. This drink is a riff on the New York Sour, swapping in honey syrup for the simple syrup and adding in a teaspoon of Benedictine liqueur. Also, this drink is actually vegan by default, as it calls for aquafaba instead of egg white to create that froth and foam in this drink. Oh, and the final modification is that they changed the glassware from the rocks glass typically used in a New York Sour to a tulip or a coupe glass. Now, I was just going to do a vodka Red Bull for Vegas because honestly, that feels like a drink that's giving Vegas vibes, but I felt like there had to be a drink that had a stronger connection to the local area. And that's when I found out that Nevada does actually have a truly official state cocktail. It's the Pecan Punch. The Pecan Punch comes to us courtesy of Nevada's large Basque immigrant population, something I only found out about while researching for this video. Now, I couldn't track down an exact origin for this drink, but that makes sense when you realize how simple it is. It's just Amer Picon, bit of grenadine, lengthened out with club soda, and then finally topped off with a bit of brandy. With such a simple spec, the drink relies very heavily on that Amer Picon, a French aperitif first created in 1837. It's caramel covered, orange, quite bitter, sounds very interesting. There's just one little problem. You can't get it in the US. See, the drink is pretty much only sold in France, and so pecan punches and other drinks that call for Amer Picon in the US have to make do with a substitute. So my plan for this drink was to basically keep the formula of the Hit the Road Jack, but swap out the red wine float over top for a float of our Amer Picon substitute. Now, the most common substitute, the best one that from what I've read online, is Torani Amer. That's essentially the same recipe, just produced here in the US, so it's available here. There's also China China, as well as Amaro Chao Charo. Sadly, despite there being 3 options for substitutes, none of them were available in my region. So as a result, I've had to really sort of scrape for substitutes. What I'm going to be doing is Aperol plus a little bit of Angostura bitters, which should give us both that bitter orange character of your traditional Amer Picon, plus that gentian root, which really is sort of the distinctive bitterness to it. So we'll see how well that works, but ultimately this final spec for this drink is going to be 1 3/4 ounce of our rye. The weird spec for this one comes courtesy of Hit the Road Jack, that recipe. I would not have done 1 3/4 ounce. I would have just done a clean 2 ounce, but hey, we're staying true to our sources here. 1/2 ounce of honey syrup. I'm gonna make some more honey syrup soon. Thankfully, this is absolutely one of the easiest syrups out there to make, so shouldn't be too much of a problem. Three-quarters of an ounce of lemon juice. It's the last leg of our sour trinity. Whoop. And then finally, 1 egg white, and I pre-cracked my egg white this time so I didn't have to sploosh all over my hands. I'm gonna add that in there. And now there is no ice in my shaker because what we are going to do first is we are going to dry shake this to get it all frothed up. All right, now that that's frothed up, crack it open, add our ice cube to it, give it another shake. All right, so we're gonna strain that into our coupe glass. Oh yeah, you can see that nice sort of foaminess that it has from the egg white. And now we are going to construct our Amer Picon substitute with a 1/2 ounce of Aperol. I don't know if it's Aperol or Aperol. I got clowned on in the comments for calling it Aperol, but I don't know. I like saying it that way. I think it's funny. Aperol. And then we're gonna add into that 1 dash of our Angostura bitters, just making sure we get that sort of gentian root flavor, that distinctive bitterness in there. All right. We're gonna take our 1/2 ounce of our Amer Picon substitute, sort of float it over the top. All right, and now thinking, you know, Vegas, Cowboys, hitting the road. You know I had to go to New Vegas and call this drink the Lonesome Road. Let's give it a try. Oh, that's good. Ooh. Oh, wow, okay. Oh, I love this drink. Oh, this is a good drink, okay. So first off, right off the bat, you know, I love a drink with an egg white. That is my weakness. I love a good frothy drink with an egg white. It's such a pleasant texture. It's such a pleasant mouthfeel. Like, it adds such a creaminess, but not a heavy kind of creaminess, you know? It's really kind of light and aerated, and it just feels so smooth and adds such a new dimension to a drink, you know? So that's the starting point, is that mouthfeel, that initial texture on that first sip. Ooh, absolutely positively delightful. And then you get into the evolution of this drink, and it is just something magical. I'm very curious to see what this drink would be like if I could get my hands on like a true like Torani Amer, or even Amer Picon, you know, the OG. But this substitute of the Aperol plus the Angostura bitters, that like bitter orange combo is so lovely, and it plays so well with that kind of basic whiskey sour spec. You know, the honey, the lemon, the whiskey. Ooh, that's just like, oh, I'm having difficulty putting it into words because it's just such a perfect combination right there. It's like, let me have another sip. I gotta trace this out. It's such a long evolution. I think that's one of the things I really appreciate about this drink is like from the first sip to the very last note that fades out, it is just delightful the entire way through. Perfectly balanced. I mean, that honey is bringing such a lovely sweetness to this drink, but then like the lemon juice is cutting it nicely so it doesn't feel over sweet. And yeah, I mean, I might start having to like make my own little like, that Aperol or Aperol plus Angostura combo, you know, it's such a perfect combo of flavors. Oh my God, this is like, this is only the second video I shot today, hence why the lighting is still scuffed, because daylight savings times is still a bitch, and it still hates me. But this is like the 5th drink I've had today, and this is the high note to end it on, because this is incredible. I cannot get over how good this is, and I'm having trouble putting it into words as a result of those 4 previous drinks that I've had today. You get the bitters, the Angostura bitters, they pick up some of those, you know, notes in the rye that we're using here, and they give this drink like a really, almost like root beer-y kind of bite to it on the back end, but the front end is just so smooth. Honestly, this drink hits a lot of those kind of like root beer float notes almost, between the creaminess of the egg white but still that kind of like root beer gentian bite on the back end. And the way that, because of all the other ingredients in here, right? Because of the honey, because of the lemon, because of the egg white, that bite isn't harsh. You know, when you've got like a root beer float, like it's not quite as, you know, grabbing at the mouth as like a normal root beer is. That's kind of what's going on in this drink, where those flavors that might feel a bit harsh just in isolation, in the full context of this drink, they're just so beautifully smooth and everything works together so perfectly. I wouldn't remove like a single ingredient from this drink. I don't think this drink needs anything. This is pretty close to a 10. This has been a very good week of drinks for me. I've been cooking a little bit here. Yeah, and one of the fun things about, I don't know if just using like a more true Amer Picon substitute would do this. Like I don't know if you used a Torani Amer, if it would do this. And I probably can't show you in this, but you'll see it when I take the pretty picture for this drink. Because of the Angostura bitters that's in that float that I do over top, you can trace out a very sort of distinct pattern on top on the egg white. And so it gives you a really fun visual to look at in this drink, in addition to all of the, you know, the enjoyment that I'm getting from the flavor and from the mouthfeel of this drink. It's very pretty on the eyes, and a coupe was definitely the correct glass to serve this in. I would not want to, you know, dilute this down over a rock at all. If I had to try to like strip this back to fit in a Nick and Nora glass, things would break. You also wouldn't get as much space for that egg white head. This is absolutely the perfect glassware for this drink. Damn, is there anything I'm missing? I feel like I should be talking about this drink far more because it's so good and I'm so happy with how it turned out. But honestly, I just can't I can't put it into words. It is just a perfect symphony of flavors. And when I try to go in and nitpick things, they just kind of like fade off. You know, it's like grasping at a dream. I love this drink so much, but words are absolutely failing me in trying to describe it. Well, a surprisingly wonderful drink, and who knows, you know, maybe this Monday night game will surprise me, but we'll find out in the simulation.
Now the Cowboys technically get the ball first in this game, returning it out to the 29-yard line. I say technically because on their first play from that 29-yard line, Dak checks it down to Javonte Williams, who has the ball punched out, and the Raiders recover the fumble. Important disclaimer, this game was simmed before Jakobi Meyers got traded to the Jaguars, so Geno gets to benefit from his sure hands on the 6-yard TD grab. Dallas's second drive goes far better than their first, ending with a little play-action pop-pass TD from Dak to Jake Ferguson. This Raiders offense continues looking better than it has all year on their following drive, as Geno again connects with Jakobi to retake the lead. The Cowboys respond by making it all the way down to the 1-yard line, but instead of just going for a sneak or pounding the rock, they try some play action and fool absolutely nobody, getting Dak sacked back to the 11-yard line. With 2 minutes left in the half, the Cowboys kick the chip shot field goal to cut the Raiders' lead to 4. The Raiders run a really clean 2-minute drill, though, as Geno connects with Trey Tucker, putting them in prime field goal position at the end of the half. From there, Carlson easily hits the 37-yarder, putting the Raiders up 17-10 at the half. The Cowboys' defense finally gets a stop in the second half, letting their offense chew up the third quarter, capping off their lengthy drive with an 8-yard touchdown scramble by Dak to tie the game up. Our third quarter may have been defense-heavy, but these offenses lit it up in the fourth. Dallas gets us started with a well-blocked screen pass to Javonte Williams, who takes it in untouched for the 17-yard score. However, the Raiders finally get Brock Bowers involved in this game, hitting him right on the goal line to tie the game up with just over 2 minutes left. The Cowboys only need about a minute to make it all the way down to the 1-yard line, though, and this time they don't try to do anything fancy with it, just handing it off to Williams, who punches right through for the go-ahead touchdown. With no timeouts left, the Madden AI dooms any chance the Raiders may have had to send this game to overtime, as Geno dumps it off over the middle to Brock Bowers, and the rest of the time runs out. Cowboys win 31-24. I do think the Cowboys are going to get this win, but we've got a funny week-on-week, strong-on-strong type matchup in this one. The Raiders' offense is one of the worst in the league, ahead of only the Titans, while the Cowboys' defense has had about as much stopping power as a piece of tissue paper. Meanwhile, on the other side of the ball, the Cowboys' offense has at least been generally competent, while the Raiders' defense has shown the ability to shut down at least a few offenses. But this is batshit season, so who knows how it'll all shake out. Two very strong quarterback performances in this game. Dak led the way with passing yards and completion percentage, but Geno tossed one more touchdown, and perhaps most surprisingly, neither threw an interception. Okay, that might not be particularly surprising for Dak, but Geno has been averaging slightly over one interception per game, so this would be right up there with the Commanders game for his best of the season. In addition to passing the ball well, the Cowboys also did a really good job of establishing the run, with Javonte Williams carrying it 15 times for 84 yards and a touchdown. Now, despite Genty averaging 6.2 yards per carry in this game, the Raiders only gave it to him 7 times, which really limited his output and ability to affect this game. Now, that doesn't matter as much because the magical scrambling Madden quarterback is back, with Geno Smith turning 4 rushes into a whopping 62 yards, actually outgaining Genty. Now, Geno's not exactly a statue, but his season high is only 31 yards, so this is certainly an optimistic projection. Also, the fullback Hunter Lipke got to carry it once, so that's fun. On the receiving side of things, Jake Ferguson was feeling Fergie fresh as he led all receivers with 7 receptions for 96 yards and a touchdown. The inflated running back stats are also kinda back, as Javonte Williams hauled in 7 catches this game for 45 yards, both of which would be season highs for him. In Madden's defense, however, he did have a few games with 7 or 8 targets this season, so it's not too crazy. Unsurprisingly, the leading receiver on the Raiders was Brock Bowers, but they certainly benefited from having Jacoby Myers still in this sim, as he brought in 2 of their touchdowns. Perhaps the most shocking receiving stat, though, is just how little CeeDee Lamb contributed, only having 2 catches for 18 yards. I know Madden historically doesn't like wide receiver ones, but usually that's because they're X-receivers that the AI doesn't like to target. CD often plays close to 50% of his snaps in the slot, so really surprising that he didn't see his usual target load. Of course, the Monte Carlo sim easily corrects that, as he averages 6.5 catches and around 68 yards, basically 50 yards higher than in the Madden sim. Both quarterbacks see the usual drop in their passing yards, though Geno Smith also sees his rush yards drop to about a third of his Madden performance. It's the exact opposite for Ashton Genty, though, as he breaks 100 rushing yards, which does not happen often in the Monte Carlo sim. Also, with Jacoby Myers out, the Raiders' passing game continues to coalesce around Brock Bowers and Trey Tucker, though all other pass catchers do average over 10 yards. Score-wise, this is a prime example of what I'm calling the 4 quarters distribution, which is basically where the 4 most common outcomes are a 14-14 tie, a 21-21 tie, and then a 14-21 for both teams, all of which are roughly equally likely. This is a pretty common set of final scores for when 2 teams are evenly matched, with the final outcome determined largely by the marginal scores. In this case, those other scores tilt slightly towards the Raiders, settling on a 20-18 final line. And now, as it's the end of Week 11, let's take a look at our standings, starting with the AFC. Not a lot of movement again this week, though the Jets do unseat the Dolphins as head of the AFC East, as that division remains more or less upside down compared to reality. Despite the loss and sitting at 2 games below 500, the Raiders continue to have a positive point differential, making the AFC West the only division where every team has a positive point differential. Finally, the Titans have finally fallen below the Texans to claim their rightful spot on the bottom of the AFC South. Over in the NFC, Green Bay retakes the top spot in the NFC North, despite the Lions winning on Sunday night. Speaking of the Lions win, that gives the Eagles their first loss in this simulated season, although they're still handily leading their division, so pretty realistic there. Beyond that, though, it's more the same in the NFC. The NFC West continues to be a 3-team race, albeit the wrong 3 teams. No offense, Cardinals, but you know it's the truth. Do you agree with the simulations, or do you envision a different future? I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts down in the comments. As a reminder, our drink for this matchup is the creamy, smooth, and spiced Lonesome Road. If you make it, please let me know what you think, and I'd love to hear your suggestions for what drink should be your team's representative. Stay curious, stay thirsty, and I'll see you in the next one.